Some people who chose to ignore it altogether. And when humanity messes up, and humanity murders, people kill, people watch others being killed, people oppress, people watch others being oppressed, then what do we do after that? We ask God why He let it happen. How did you allow this? After we messed it all up. We turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our complaints. So on one hand, we want the free will to be able to reject God, to reject His orders, to reject His revelation, to reject His legislation, to live free without any restrictions. We reject when He calls us to charity and generosity and benevolence and mercy, and to take care of the poor and the vulnerable amongst us. But then at the same time, while we're rejecting God and we want to be free, we also want God to not let us be too free. We want Him to referee us. And we want Him to stop us when our free will gets us out of hand. Isn't that hypocrisy? Isn't that a double standard? Oh Allah, don't force us to do good, but when we mess up too bad, force us to stop being evil, to turn it back towards Him after we try to demand our freedom of choice. So if God stopped evil, and if God did not give us the ability to do wrong, we know that Allah doesn't force us to do wrong. That's a batil creed, that's a false creed. As false as the creed that says Allah doesn't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We know Allah doesn't force us to do wrong. But if God stopped evil, then we wouldn't have free will. Then we wouldn't have choices. Then that would defeat the purpose of the entire human enterprise. Then we might as well be angels or robots. Either God forces us to worship Him, and it's, we have no desires, we have no inclinations, or we're robots, just like a doll or something you push the button of love. It's not real love, even though the doll keeps saying, I love you to the child. It's a doll, it's robotic, it's not real. So on one hand, do we want God to stop us? Or on the other hand, do we want God to let us completely go free to where we will ruin ourselves and where we completely mess up? So if we don't have free will and God stops all this evil when we blame it all on Him, when humanity messes it up, then what's the point of this world? Is there such thing as freedom without choice? Or do we really just not want other people to have free will and other people to have choice? Because we've somehow convinced ourselves that we're not that bad. And if we were in the position of government and authority and dictatorship, then we would be better than those that we criticize. If we were in that position of power, we would be so different. So yeah, Allah, let us continue to try to climb the ladder of our own professions and our own careers and our own pursuits of power. But don't let them get it. How does that make sense? Aren't we creating more problems than solutions in that case? And subhanAllah, when we think about even the idea of how we recognize good and evil, because to resolve this and say, well, maybe there is no God. Maybe we just all got here. Maybe this entire complex design, all of our DNA that's been written, all of our functions, all of that is all by accident. Maybe we're just here, and the proof of that is how bad we've screwed it up. That's the proof of how that there is no God. But the fact that you can recognize good and evil, and you can recognize oppression versus goodness and generosity, is a proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that makes you uncomfortable. If you're a decent human being, seeing dying children makes you uncomfortable, and you can recognize what is good and what is bad, that's a proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in and of itself. That He gave you the ability to recognize. But people, humanity, human beings decide to stop being human and neglect those things.